Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's lecture. This week, we will explain you all about the design for the Hyperloop experience. This video will discuss how a new transportation mode can be implemented into our society without being a scary thing for passengers to embark on. How do we design a Hyperloop pod to optimize user experience, and what will the travel flow of the future Hyperloop passenger look like? So let's take a look at the acceptance of a new transportation mode, such as a Hyperloop. Imagine living a century ago, roughly when the first passenger plane took flight. You have never seen a huge body defy gravity, let alone fly at high speeds. Just the thought of stepping aboard this machine would have been nauseating, but now it's the most normal thing in the world. Well, that whole transition from being scary to it being part of our regular vacation routine is what we call acceptance. This is what we are also seeking for the Hyperloop. We can start by transporting cargo. This can be a great medium to prove that the system works. But eventually, we want people instead of cargo to cover long distances in a fraction of time it takes now. Well, that requires people to embrace this technology. What can you, as future Hyperloop designers, contribute to this? Well, you want the passengers to feel at ease when traveling in the pods. This brings us to the next topic of this week's video, namely the user experience. The aim of designing for user experience is to improve overall user satisfaction when interacting with anything Hyperloop, basically. This covers aspects like how comfortable the pods really are and how easy it is to purchase a ticket for a Hyperloop trip. The comfort of the pod obviously depends on a lot of factors, of which this video will cover the three main ones. We're going to start out with the size of the pod. When designing a Hyperloop pod, one of the first things you need to decide on is how big are we going to make it. The bigger your pod is, the more space per passenger will be available, which generally results in more comfort. However, when the pods are big, the tunnels and tubes need to be bigger, which make things more expensive. Therefore, the diameter size of the pod should be a trade-off between comfort and price. By setting up basic requirements like the passenger's ability to walk in the cabin, a rough estimation of the pod's diameter can be made. These requirements can largely be based on those used for present-day aircraft design, for example. The second and third factor that enhance the user experience aboard a Hyperloop are affecting the interior of the pod, namely the seating and lighting. How do passengers feel when they are sitting inside the pod? People can be considered fairly social creatures. Therefore, it is key that an enclosed environment such as a Hyperloop pod accommodates the passenger's social needs. When designing your pod, try to stimulate contact between passengers by placing the chairs in such a way that this is possible. Not only does the seating configuration matter, but also what kind of chairs you will be designing. Do you want people in active work positions, relaxed seating positions, or laying down? No matter what you desire, when using data of human ergonomics, your chairs can be designed to be comfortable and fitting for all users. Besides seating, a less obvious choice aspect of the lighting of your cabin that can also play a big role in the comfort of your passengers. Have you ever looked at a really bright phone screen when being in a dark environment? It's not that pleasant for your eyes, right? Well, the same goes for the inside of your pod. The amount of lumen or quantity of visible light needs to be adjusted according to what time of day it is, just like on your mobile phones. This means that when it's dark outside, you want to set your interior lights to a lower brightness than as to your morning light intensity. It is subtle things like this that may enhance your user experience. Now that we've created a better image of what it takes to design a passenger-friendly pod, it's time to think about the service around it. How does a Hyperloop fit in within today's transportation system? The aim of a Hyperloop is to bridge big distances at the speed of an airplane with the convenience of a metro system. This means that if you want to take a Hyperloop, it has to go as quick and as spontaneous as taking the subway. There's no point in traveling from Amsterdam to Paris in 30 minutes if you have to check in 2 hours before your departure. How will this be done? Will the Hyperloop be a point-to-point travel medium for tourists, or will it help people commute when living in Amsterdam and working in Paris? There are endless possibilities, and we want you to think about it in this week's assignment, where you will be laying down the traveler flow of the Hyperloop passengers. Remember, there's not one right way to design a Hyperloop pod, so really try to absorb all what has been said during this video and give it your own twist. How will you shape the newest mode of transportation?